Do we love it? I got this a while ago now, but I'm still obsessed with it, so. Anyway, hi. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am feeling a little overwhelmed. Today was my last day of my third year rotations in medical school, which is a big deal because essentially it means that from this point forward, everything I'm doing is elective rotations to prepare me to go into my field of choice. I no longer have to rotate in things that I kind of hate. No shame, no judgment to anybody who goes into any of the fields that I don't like, and I'm not gonna spend much time talking about them, but for the last few weeks, I have been feeling extremely burnt out and tired, and then today, after we had a little debrief meeting about the last 8 weeks or so, I came home and just burst into tears because I had so many just like pent up emotions about the last year of my life. I could talk about that more in another video if you guys are interested at all in hearing any of that, but this is not that video. Today, I want to talk about ELF cosmetics, right? If you've seen me before, if you've seen my drugstore videos or anything like that, you know I love ELF cosmetics. I honestly think that in terms of quality for your dollar, they're hard to beat. That being said, one thing that I know and love about ELF cosmetics is their propensity to shamelessly dupe things. And not in like the trashy way that I feel like some brands do it, where they're copying like small brands and making like direct copies of their packaging and things like that. No, subtler ways where they take the product and they do tweak it, they make it their own, but it's clearly a takeoff on something else. And you might know where I'm going with this. ELF recently put out a line of cream cheek products that are designed explicitly to be like the Charlotte Tilbury wands. So naturally, I bought them. They have also recently come out with the Halo Glow Liquid Filter, also supposed to be a Charlotte Tilbury dupe. And they have several other products in their line that sort of function in this way. So I thought it would be fun if we went ahead and put on a face of ELF's dupe products. I bought a couple more things that I will bring up when we get to them. But I just thought this would be fun. I do own a couple of the products I'm comparing them to. I don't own the wands. So that's just going to be kind of a first impression. But I do have some things that I can compare. So I'm very excited to film this video. I have not tried any of the ELF products yet, with one caveat that I'll talk about when I get there. So I hope you're excited for this video. I have been excited to film this video for like actually a couple of weeks now. These products have just been sitting here waiting for me to have the time to film this video, but we made it. So grab yourselves an adult beverage if you're into that kind of thing, and let's get right into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my eyes first. This video is not really about the eye look, so I'm kind of gonna speed through it. I'm just taking some of my Milani eyeshadow primer, and I decided for my eyeshadow I'm just gonna use this palette I haven't used in a while, but that I absolutely love. It's from Give Me Glow Cosmetics. It's the Vintage Rose palette. It is stunningly gorgeous and beautiful, and I just really felt like playing with this one. So I'm just going to pop something really simple on my eyes, and then we will proceed with the rest of the video. So here it is. So this is kind of what I threw together, just a really simple pink look. It's what that palette does. It does pink. Anyway, let's get into the first dupe product. So this is the ELF Brow Lift. It is like a brow wax gel thing in a pot. And this came out as a dupe for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze, which I have. So I'm very excited to compare these two because I am a fan of the Brow Freeze, but I did say in another video where I talked about this that like I don't really know if it's worth having for 23 bucks. Like I really like it. I like how it makes my brows look, but this was, I want to say $6. So if it compares, then we're kind of in business here. So I actually already automatically like the packaging of the ELF one more, purely because, do you see how the lid is like the same almost thickness as this? This has a really skinny little packaging, and so sometimes it's really hard to like get a grip on the lid. It's a small gripe, but it's annoying. So I'm going to put ABH on this brow and ELF on this brow. I'll start with the ABH side. What I usually do is just take a little tiny bit of this and pick it up on my spoolie. Just a little, especially even less because I'm only using it for one brow. Then I just take the lid and I kind of swirl it around on the lid so that my spoolie can get really coated. And then I just kind of run it through the brows I kind of back comb them and then comb them up and out. I don't have great brows to begin with, but the Brow Freeze does well. It holds them where I want them. It doesn't feel crusty or get white flakies or anything like that. It's a good product. I like it. I always like how my brows turn out when I use it. So I cleaned off that spoolie. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the ELF Brow Lift and do the exact same thing. That's what it looks like before I mess it up with my spoolie. Looks almost identical to the Brow Freeze, but kind of hard to tell just by looking. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this. That texture is extremely similar. I'm going to put it in the lid, going to kind of coat my spoolie in it. I would say just by kind of looking how it coats on the spoolie, it's maybe a little bit thinner than the Brow Freeze. Otherwise, fairly similar. So I'm just going to do it the same way. Back comb, and then brush up. So just kind of looking at my brows so far, I feel like they did very similar things. I don't have amazing eyebrows. We'll get there. I feel like they did very similar things. And once I have my base makeup on, I'll put on my eyebrow pencil and kind of see how it works with each of those in turn. But just initial impression, I feel like they're fairly similar in terms of what they do for the brow. Actually, I think that the ELF side is a little tackier. So if you're into tacky, it actually is a little bit tackier. Like these still feel pretty like hair on this side. I've heard some people say they don't feel like the Brow Freeze has enough hold. My brows aren't that hard to set in place, so I don't have that experience. But I've heard some people think that the Brow Freeze doesn't hold very well. If that's you, the Brow Lift might actually do a better job in terms of the longevity because it's definitely still got some tack to it. So this next one I am very excited about. We are going to compare side by side the ELF Halo Glow Liquid Filter and the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. We're going to put these to the test. Very excited about this. So the ELF one is in gorgeous, luxurious packaging. This is like $14, and the packaging is every bit as nice as the Hollywood Flawless Filter. Obviously, we have different caps here, but I mean, the actual glass bottle feels every bit as heavy and luxurious and nice. So I'm very impressed at what ELF pulled off with the packaging here. They also have the same large doe foot applicator as the Charlotte Tilbury. In the ELF, I got the shade 1 because I saw that the shade 2 is kind of dark for some people who are close to my skin tone. I do have the shade 2 in the Charlotte Tilbury. So I'm going to apply the ELF on this side of my face, and I'm going to apply the Charlotte Tilbury to this side of my face. A little bit of a smaller doe foot, actually. Right off the bat, I feel like the ELF has more pigment and the Charlotte Tilbury has more glow. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? This one's very shiny. This one's a little more pigmented. I love the Hollywood Flawless Filter. I have always said that I think it's worth the money. And I know that's saying a lot considering that it's like a $50 base product, but I genuinely mean it. I think it was worth the money. I do not regret buying it for a second. I feel like the way that it just sits under my foundations or mixed in with my foundations, it just always makes my skin look so healthy and dewy and just incredible. I love my skin every single time I wear the Flawless Filter. So you can see it just has that gorgeous glow with a touch of coverage. I love it. So let's see how this holds up in comparison. The shades are a touch different, but bear with me. Okay, so let's take a look up close. I do feel like the Charlotte side has more glow, but I think the ELF side has a little more of like a blurring, smoothing property. Looking at myself up close in my mirror, I feel like you can see my cheeks texture a little more on the Charlotte side than you can on the ELF side. Here's kind of my take just as a first impression. I think if you want more of the shiny, gleaming glow from within part of the glow filter, the Charlotte is going to give it to you more. If you want more of the filter part and a little bit less of the glow, because this can be a lot for some people, I actually think the ELF would be better in that situation. So I don't think that they are identical dupes, but I think that if you know the kind of product that you're looking for, you might like one over the other. If you're big on the shininess, the Charlotte is going to be shinier. But the ELF, I think, actually has more of a little bit of a perfecting quality. That being said, we have to see how they play with foundation, so obviously I will be using the same foundation on both sides of my face, or it's not really a fair comparison. I grabbed my Sephora Best Skin Ever foundation. I feel like this is a good, just kind of natural finish foundation, so we'll really be able to see how each of these affects the finish that this foundation gives. I feel like I'm doing a science experiment. I love it. So I'm just going to pump out a couple of pumps on the back of my hand. Oh, that was probably way too much. I'm trying to learn how to do thinner layers of foundation and not go crazy the first time. Kind of a learning curve for me. I absolutely love it on the Charlotte Tilbury side. I've used this combo before, and I just love these two as a combo. The Sephora foundation tends to be just a little more dry than I tend to prefer. Not like dry, more matte. It's not a matte foundation, but it's more matte than I tend to like. But the lasting power is really good because of it. And so combining it with the Charlotte Tilbury always just gives me the exact finish that I want. The e.l.f. side still does add in a little bit of that glow, but I gotta say, I feel like it's just doing more for my texture, especially sort of across my cheek here. I feel like it just looks a little more blurred and a little more smooth. But as you can see, this side still looks shinier. So they both play nicely with the foundation. I didn't have trouble at all. No patchiness, no picking up, nothing. So I'm impressed. I gotta be honest with you. So here's kind of where I think I land with this product. If you want one to wear by itself, the e.l.f. hands down would be the better choice. It's got a little bit more pigmentation to it. It's a little bit less in your face shiny, and it's got the blurring and smoothing property that I would want for a product that I'm going to wear as a coverage product on its own. If you want one to mix in with foundation or wear as a base and you're into the dewy, wet, gleam from within look, I still think the Charlotte's worth it. So again, I think they're very similar products that serve very similar purposes. Would I call them dupes? No, I wouldn't, because I don't think they do the exact same thing. I like how both of them have made my skin look, though, just for slightly different reasons, if that makes sense. So both fantastic in their own right, and honestly, I don't think you can go wrong either way. Let me go ahead and pop some concealer on my under eyes. I'm using the Kosas concealer that I just picked up in my Sephora haul because I can't put it down. I just love how it makes my under eyes look. Trying out blending it in a few different ways. I've tried it with a sponge and a brush. I'm going to try using my fingers today just to see how I like it. I've been so into blending concealer with my fingers over the last several months. I just feel like I love how it just melts everything right into the skin. And this plays fantastically. So, again, I continue to be remarkably impressed by this little concealer. Before we move on to the exciting cheeks part, I'm going to go ahead and finish off my eyebrows with my... This is just like $1 billion brows pencil I got in a BoxyCharm ages ago. I'm going to use this on both sides, and then we'll kind of have a come to Jesus about the eyebrows. This pencil is a touch darker than I usually go for, so we're doing dramatic eyebrows today. So initial impressions. I like how my eyebrows look. I like how the ABH brow looks a little bit more. I could just like this brow a little bit better today. You know how your brows have weird days, they never quite look the same? This might be my better brow today. I want to try these against each other a few more times before I can definitively say which one I like more or if I think that they're dupes. This brow took a little more work than this brow. That's really all it comes down to. Now again, that could just have to do with the way that my eyebrows are today. I feel like the ABH side gripped the pencil better. I talked about this in my Sephora haul. Some brow gel or waxes have this interesting property where they just grab on to any pigment that you're using. They just grab right onto it and just place it on the brow exactly where you wanted it. This side didn't really do that. I had to work a little harder to get the pigment down. That being said, for the price difference, it's probably not that big of a deal. In terms of hold, I'll have to let you know in the future which one I think holds better. Given that the e.l.f. has a little more tack, I would imagine that it's going to hold the brows down a little bit better. I do like how both sides look. I prefer this side a little bit more today. Whether that comes down to the brow gel, I don't really know. So stay tuned for more on that one, but I am impressed with the e.l.f. I think it does a very, very similar job for a fraction of the price. So it's not a bad product. So now let's get into the part of the video that I have been by far the most excited for, and it is these little beauties right here. I did pick up one of the contour wands, one of the blush wands, and one of the highlight wands. We're going to start obviously with the contour. It's not really a contour. The fair light or the lightest shade, whichever one that was more of a contour color. It's actually like a truer gray brown kind of shade. I don't really contour that often, so I picked up light medium, which is a little bit more of a bronzy shade because that's what I'm more likely to use. So Let's open. I did swatch these, which is why the sponges aren't perfectly, like, pristine. I have never used them on my face, though. So as you can see, the sponge is pretty tiny. The Charlotte Tilbury sponges are nice and fluffy. That being said, I kind of think that the big fluffy sponges get gross, so this might be better. These are also not twist-ups. They are squeezy. So I'm going to squeeze up a little bit right here. Bronzer brush. I'm going to apply it. I'm going to try to be sparing with it because I don't want to look insane. It shears out pretty nicely. I feel like even though it's a little darker than I might normally go, it shears out nicely. So I feel like I can afford to add a little more. I really like the shade. I feel like even though it is more of a bronzer shade than the other, it's not super warm. It's pretty neutral tone. And it blends very easily into the skin. Very smoothly. I feel like I don't see any patchiness. Let's do the other side. Being a little more aggressive now that I know it shears out well. I love the shade. The shade is gorgeous. And because it's a little bit more of a neutral tone, I feel like it both bronzes and sculpts a little bit. I feel like it does add a little bit of shadow to my cheekbone. This is a beautiful product. I don't know how much time you really have to work with it. It hasn't dried down on me and been hard to blend so far, but I usually blend in sections like this just to kind of try to avoid that. I think this is gorgeous. And it's blending well on both sides, for the record. No, I don't see a difference in how it's blended on either side. Wow, this is really beautiful. I don't have a lot of liquid bronzer products or contour products. Mostly if I have a cream, it's like a pot cream. So far, so good, though. I feel like that did a phenomenal job. I feel like it really took on the finish of the foundation underneath it. Or the complexion products underneath it. I feel like it doesn't look particularly matte, but it doesn't bring any of its own shine necessarily. I'm actually super impressed. That's a beautiful product. I'm looking forward to using that more. That's really nice. Can't really compare it to the Charlotte wand because I've never tried the Charlotte wand, but honestly, I don't really feel like I need to. It's like $40 and this is a great little product. Next, I have the blush wand. Of course, everyone is obsessed with the Charlotte wand in Pinkgasm, usually is what they're talking about. This was the closest shade I could see to what that shade kind of looks like. I can't really tell you if it's a spot-on shade. However, I have heard that the Wet n Wild blush stick in the shade Peach Bums is very nearly identical to the shade of Charlotte Tilbury's Pinkgasm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these side by side and see if they look similar at all. I know they have a good 3 or 4 other shades of this. None of the other ones look even remotely close to what Pinkgasm looks like. So this is the one I wanted to go for. Let's see if the shades look similar. Again, I am only reporting from what I've seen in swatches on the internet that this looks very similar in shade to the Charlotte Tilbury wand. I cannot prove that in person. I just thought it might be a useful comparison tool. So that is the Wet n Wild stick in the shade Peach Bums. It's very pretty. I do recommend that one if you can get your hands on it. And this is ELF's blush wand in Rosé You Slay. I love that. You know, they're not similar. If anything, I think the ELF one might have a little bit more peachiness to it. But they're not like each other. So let me blend out the Wet n Wild one a little bit better and maybe we can see. Yeah, so I feel like the Wet n Wild one is a little pinker, and maybe by virtue of that, the Charlotte one is. But, so this is Wet n Wild, and this is ELF. I mean, they're not that far off. So, assuming that the Wet n Wild is similar in shade to the Charlotte Tilbury, I would say that the ELF one, again, while not being the same shade as the Charlotte Tilbury, it is in the same neighborhood as the Charlotte Tilbury wand in the shade Pinkgasm. Let us try this on the cheek. So when I watched, I've only seen one other person put these on their face. It was a TikTok from Manny MUA. And he said that the blending time with the blush was very short. And it kind of started to look patchy. So I'm going to do it one cheek at a time. And we'll see if we have that experience. I'm going to assume that I can kind of go ham with the pigment. Ooh, she's pigmented. She's actually more pigmented than I gave her credit for. Oh my goodness. I am not having the experience that it is sticking to one spot and being difficult to blend. I personally am not seeing that happen. Wow. I like that so much. That is a gorgeous color. It's a beautiful finish. It's not like aggressively shiny. Maybe it's just because I applied it with this particular brush and it kind of took some of it down. On the swatch, it was very shiny. On the face, I feel like it can be tampered a bit. It's a beautiful shade. I love this shade. This is such a good summer shade. Again, I'm not really having the experience that it is sticking to one spot and being patchy and difficult to blend. I'm just getting my hair in my face. I should have worn my headband. That was my mistake. I think that that is gorgeous. That is an absolutely beautiful blush. Regardless of whether it is a dupe, it is a beautiful blush. I'm going to wear this all summer. That is such a nice summer shade. Finally, last but certainly not least for these, we have the highlight wand. Mine is in the shade Champagne Campaign. This looked most similar to me to the shade Spotlight, which is the Charlotte Tilbury one that most people tend to be crazy over. Let's swatch. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. I have high hopes for this one. Let's see. My cheekbones were already kind of glistening and gleaming because of the flawless filter, but wow. Oh my gosh. That melted in like nothing, by the way. All of these did, but oh my goodness. A lot of times what I've noticed that cream highlighters can kind of form like a stripe on the face. This didn't do that at all. That is gorgeous. I will tell you, exercise caution with the sponge because mine's already turning a little bit pink from putting it on top of the blush. Oh my goodness. The formula of these is really thin. I think that's one thing that makes them really easy to use and blend. Very, very thin texture. Oh my goodness. No notes, ELF. I have no notes. They're great. Yeah. Wow. I feel like they did a phenomenal job. My cheeks look so nice. Round of applause for ELF. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I actually don't even really feel any particular need to try the Charlotte Tilbury ones now because these are just, how much better could they really be, for a $30 price difference? How much better could they realistically be? I feel dewy and beautiful. I'm so impressed. ELF killed it as usual with the freaking cheek products, okay? They killed it. Really quickly, just to set some of my shinier spots and a little bit under my eyes, I'm going to it seemed appropriate to take the Halo Glow setting powder, which was the first product in this Halo Glow line. I do not have the new packaging because mine is old, but it's a phenomenal powder. Love it. Works as a setting powder, works as a finishing powder. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so far so good, folks. I'm going to pop on some mascara and do some shadow on my lower lash line, and then I will come back and we'll finish off with the lips. By the way, just for your reference, the mascara I put on is the Milani highly rated anti-gravity mascara. It's a great little mascara. You can get it for like $5 at TJ Maxx these days. So for the lips, I'm going to start by putting on my Charlotte Tilbury lip cheat in the shade Pillow Talk, and I think you might know where we're going with this. So here's the deal. ELF just recently put out a line of lipsticks called the O-Face Satin Lipsticks. They are gorgeous. And this is where that caveat I mentioned earlier about I haven't tried all of these products comes in. I haven't tried this product. My mom bought one of these and I tried hers in another video and it was phenomenal. They are so good. The pigment's incredible. They're smooth as butter and they last for a really long time for a satin lipstick. It's almost like they leave a little bit of a stain behind. I was super impressed. I was eating, drinking, everything, and I had pigment on my lips for hours. Very, very impressive. Contrast this with the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick, the matte lipsticks. I don't think you get the same experience with these. I feel like this formula is a little more similar to like the Charlotte Tilbury kissing formula, but here's why I pulled out my matte lipstick. This is the shade Pillow Talk. You know it, you love it, or, the beauty community loves it. I think it's fine. I like the shade. I'm not big on the formula. For a matte lipstick, the lasting power is trash because it's super silicone-y and it slips and slides all over the place. I don't hate it. I just don't think it's worth $35 or whatever the hell it costs. So that is the shade Pillow Talk right there. It's patchy. This is my problem with the Charlotte formula. Anywho, this is the ELF O-Face lipstick in the shade Dirty Talk. And as soon as I saw that shade name, I knew exactly where they were going with this. So I wanted to see. Yep. That's the ELF one, by the way. The one that looks clearly nicer and smoother, yeah. It's a better formula. I'm telling you, no questions asked. Hands down, this is a better formula than the Charlotte Tilbury matte formula. And I mean that. So let's put them on side by side and see how they do. I'm going to do the Charlotte on this side where I have the high-end stuff and the e.l.f. on this side. So I have both of them on my lips. If not for the fact that this had a matte finish and this has a satin finish and you can kind of see the shine, you would never know I was wearing two different lip colors. Very similar. So if you like the shade of Charlotte Tilbury's Pillow Talk and you want legitimately a formula that is a fraction of the cost and is better. And this packaging is so nice. It's like magnetic packaging. It's so nice. e.l.f. did an amazing job with these lipsticks. I thought at first, I was like, $9 for a lipstick from e.l.f. seems kind of steep. I get it, though. I 100% get it. These are great. These are better than these, okay? They're better. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Don't spend $35 on a mediocre matte lipstick. Don't do it. So this is the finished look, you guys. What do we think? I am so impressed by e.l.f. Every time I'm always impressed by e.l.f. But this is like wildly beautiful. The cheeks are, I'm speechless. I love this blush. I want to wear this blush every day of summer. It's gorgeous. The highlighter is poppin', and I feel like the bronzer is just so like smooth and even, and oh my gosh. I can't. Seriously, those formulas are phenomenal. I don't even really care if I ever try the Charlotte Tilbury ones at this point because I have already found one that works so well. So kudos to e.l.f. again. You did it again. As far as the base, the filter, the glow product, again, I feel like they serve different purposes. So they're both good in their own right. That being said, the e.l.f. one did do a beautiful job on my face. So I like it for what it is. I don't think it's identical to the Charlotte Tilbury. And then I'll have to let you guys know on the brow thing at a later date. I do think they're very similar products, but again, kind of comes down to how they hold and what kind of brow day I'm having on either side of my face. So we'll fill you in on that one, but initial impressions on these products, I am so impressed with e.l.f. like I always am. They killed it. I don't get money from e.l.f. for saying any of this, by the way. I don't have enough views for that. I just really love e.l.f. So with that all being said, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of the e.l.f. products we tried today? How do you think that they compare to the Charlotte Tilbury, the ABH? Let me know if you've tried any of them and what you thought. I am super curious to hear your opinions. If you enjoyed this video or you got anything out of it, I hope you will hit like down below and let me know. And if you really enjoyed this video or you've enjoyed any of my other videos, I hope you will hit subscribe down below. It means the world to me, and I'm so happy to have all of you. So I hope you all have a fantastic day. Enjoy yourself, a little glass of wine for me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.